Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Man, don't get better than this, does it? One of my most favorite parts about Southern California and living in the high desert is the beautiful purples, the oranges, the pinks. Just the sky during certain sunsets is just something that you can, if you was to not wake up tomorrow and that was the last thing you saw, what a beautiful sight. I wanted to try to share this with you guys just before the close of the evening. I have my daughters out here. We're all taking pictures and having fun. And I just got done watering the fruit orchard as well as the wine vineyard and our pumpkin patch. Tonight's discussion topic is going to be about having pride in your work. Okay? I take a lot of pride in everything that I've done in the last couple weeks with this little tree farm, fruit farm, patch, vineyard. It's been a lot of work, a lot of laboring hours. You guys probably haven't seen me a whole bunch, but I take a lot of pride in all the work that I've put in for everything that you see here. You're gonna even see some tree lights light up because they're all solar. And then I got a windmill, it looks great. I've got compliments all week. Every single night, every single morning, I have someone passing by giving compliments. It's great. Also got this little rabbit thing down here for the watering trough. We put a little food out there for the rabbits, okay? Now we got Peter Rabbit, he comes out, he likes to explore, and he's been eating a lot of my plant life, so he's made it difficult for me as a new farmer, to say the least, but he's taught me a lot of things. Patience, okay? Patience is number one. And then just that sense of pride of work that I was telling you guys about, okay? It took some time. I had to make measurements to make it right. I tried to halfway toss it up. Didn't come out good. Bunnies got in. Now it looks good. It's all put together well. I see a lot of guys between different shops, not just a dealership, but over at the independent, that don't seem to take a lot of pride in their work. You know, if they do a repair, sometimes there's oil left over and they don't always pressure wash. Some guys do. Some guys do. But you have to remind them, especially the newer guys, hey man, it's more beneficial to spray all that stuff down so you can see and make sure that there's no other known leaks. So that's like a sense of pride though. If you make a mess in somebody else's bay, it's a sense of pride to clean it up. If you've overfilled an oil caddy, take that moment, take that sense of pride and go drain it. So that way the next guy isn't walking over to a flooded bay full of oil because you didn't drain it. If you borrowed somebody's tool and you completely oiled it up and greased it up and you didn't use it hardly, but it looks like you've been using it all year, maybe clean it up before you give it back to them. You know what I'm saying? The machines that you use at work are expensive. Take some pride in those machines. Keep them put together well. Clean them up when you're done using them and put them in a nice spot where they're not going to get ruined. It might not be your money, but you should treat it as your money, okay? You're using them to make money. Shouldn't you upkeep the machines that you're using? I think yes, and I think a lot of people would agree with me with that statement. Keeping after your work area is not only a requirement because of OSHA, but I think it's another thing that comes down to sense of pride. Keeping your work area clean and keeping everything nice and neat. And I get it, there are some mechanics, and I'm no exclusion to this, okay? When I'm doing a heavy line repair, I might have tools all over my bench and even a few on top of the cowl or what have you. But clean it all up, put it all back, and just go through everything before you even start that car and make sure that all the fasteners were put back. If you got put on a job that somebody else took apart, go find a fastener or P&A a new fastener to put in its place. Just because there was no fastener available doesn't mean you should send it down the road without it. Okay, if the oil drain plug looks screwed up, make sure to replace that. You know, if you notice something that's a little bit outside of the norm or that's wearing out, make sure you put a P&A in for it. The vehicle should always leave in better condition than it came in. You are a technician. You are responsible for that. That's part of your job. Yes, there's going to be some irritation with parts. There's probably going to be irritation with your service manager, maybe even your foreman, that you're still asking for parts and they're thinking it should be done. But that's the nature of the game. It can either be done right or it can be done right now. And I guarantee you most of those jobs that are done right now are going to be comebacks. So make sure you're doing them the right way. Make sure you can make the job go as swimmingly as possible, but if you run into any hiccups, don't be afraid to P&A another part that you need, okay? Because you don't want that comeback. You want to be efficient. You want to make sure that you've crossed all the T's and dotted all your I's. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. A handful of you probably already do this. That's fine. I had a comment earlier today that said, man, dealerships do not recommend things to independent shops. I worked at the dealership for 15, 16 years and the independent shop for 5. I can tell you that dealerships never recommend anything to us. It's all depending on the area that you live in, okay? The area that I live in, there are some vehicles that are too old, where there's not enough knowledge for those older vehicles to be able to complete that task that do get sent to independent shops. Sometimes the vehicle is too old where we can't get parts for them, so they will go to an independent shop or refer them to an independent shop. The independent shop then fights with the aftermarket companies, to include the auto parts stores, LKQ, maybe even junkyards and eBays, to try to figure out how to satisfy the customer. And sometimes it's a lose-lose. Most carburetors are not rebuilt properly. They just throw new gaskets in. They're not replacing floats or anything. So some independent shops might even stop rebuilding carburetors, okay? So I have seen situations where independent shops have sent work over to the dealership because they lack the software. I have seen dealerships send work over to the independent shop because they lack the knowledge because the vehicle's too old. I have seen them send work to the independent shop because there's no parts available for us on our list and it would take too much time, and time is money, and the dealership would potentially lose money. Same thing with smogs, okay? There are some shops that have the right smog equipment that can smog almost anything that comes in. Dealerships can't smog every single vehicle that comes in. They can only smog from a certain year to new. Independent shops might be the same way. Maybe they can do the old ones and the new ones, but they can't do the new ones, okay? These are all different things that you're gonna run into. So it's just a comment that I got. I had another guy that asked me about quality of work. You know, should you do it the right way, or should you if the manager is telling you to do it another way, do you do it that? Look, there's many ways to skin a cat. You can, as long as the vehicle leaves in better condition than it came in, you're probably good. Well, should you check all fluid levels? Absolutely, if you can. There are some fluid levels you might not be able to check depending on scan data, depending on if the Europeans don't often have dipsticks on some of them. So there are Chrysler vehicles, you have to have a specific dipstick and monitor transmission temperature, and then dip the dipstick in and then verify that the level is appropriate, right? So it depends on the situation. If you're doing a lube oil filter service and you have one of those vehicles and your shop's not equipped for it, well then obviously you're gonna have to talk to the manager or the service writer and say, hey look, I cannot check the fluid level in the transmission because we don't have a scan tool capable enough or the dipstick to check it. They'll understand that, they'll let the customer know, but that's doing the right thing. You're doing your job. Guys, the winds are starting to pick up. I'm gonna wrap it up with this though. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Thanks for dropping by the channel and watching. Hit the bell so you can be notified when I post my next video. But I'm clearly busy. Sky's the limit, right? So we love y'all. Take care. Cheers and deuces.